wrap up your conversations so we can get started. We'd appreciate that. A couple of announcements. First one is we cannot have people standing in the room. We cannot have people standing in the room. Thank you, Jim. So that's a fire marshal. Thank you for not talking. Thank you for not talking. The meeting is... I don't usually have to do this. I don't usually have to do this. So we can get started. We'd appreciate that. We would appreciate a couple of announcements. First one is we cannot have people standing in the room. We cannot have people standing in the room. Thank you, Jim. So that's a fire marshal. Thank you for not talking. Can we finish? Thank you for not talking. The meeting is... I don't usually have to do this. I don't. Well, that was effective. So we do, I hope this stops. That's the first time that's ever happened. It really is, if you would pay attention to a presiding officer when they're trying to get a meeting going, we really appreciate it. Now, there is a rule, and it's the fire marshal, and we can't have people standing or in the aisleways. Everybody outside can hear us, so when I begin calling people up, they will come into the room and speak to us from that particular podium. We'll keep. Yep. I'm going to be, when we get to it, I'm going to be calling people in the order we receive these, just so you understand that procedure. What else do I want to say? I have one more personal announcement, and then I'm going to turn the floor over to Commissioner Adams for a moment. The other announcement is, I appreciate all the attention I have now. We have a large group, and we have some people outside, and we want everybody to hear whoever's presenting. And to do that, we can't express our approval or disapproval in any auditory manner or large body movement. So I'm going to ask you to show appreciation or agreement with the Universal Sign Language for applause. That's fine. But we don't have an accepted body language for disapproval of what you've heard. So we please, just a stoic silence, and we'll know that you didn't like it. That's been working great, and I'm sure it'll happen wonderfully tonight. And to the people out in the foyer, I'll call it, I appreciate your patience. We have to follow that fire marshal direction. Commissioner Adams has an announcement.
Yeah, just before we got started, and because I know we're going to have a lot of public comment tonight, which I'm very much looking forward to, I am on call for my medical practice tonight. The phone almost never goes off, so it likely won't ring. But if I get up and answer the phone, it's not because I don't appreciate what you're saying. I just have to answer that call. So again, likely won't happen, but I wanted to say that in advance because I don't want anyone here to feel disrespected during our meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lant?
Present.
Commissioner Weiner?
Here.
Commissioner Bachmann?
Here.
Commissioner Adams?
Here.
And Commissioner Weiner. Gardner. Sorry.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, as you know, and I'm looking at, the agenda is quite simple tonight. Basically, we're here to explore the application for the Lithia Park East Hillside Mountain Bike Trail and to go over our look ahead at the end of the meeting. I want to give you the sequence of events. We're first going to hear from staff, Interim Director Dials. Then we're going to hear public comment. You'll have 2 minutes each because we have 30 plus. So if everybody takes their 2 minutes, we'll go an hour. And that's about all we can afford. So if you hear something that somebody else has said, or if you hear something you were going to say and somebody else has said it, if you could cut your presentation down, cut that out, that's appreciated. But we want you to have your say. Normally it would be 3, it's 2 tonight because we're extending this period way beyond our normal public forum. Only one topic tonight, and that's the trail proposal. And then what will occur will be the commission discussion. After we've heard everything, we don't interact with you. This is not a town hall format, then we'll have a discussion amongst ourselves to come to some sort of consensus without a vote, because we don't take action as a study session, for staff to proceed on to our next step, which would be probably something in September. So that's what's going to happen. And I'll now ask Interim Director Dials to give us her report.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. Yes, brief presentations, public comment, and no decision tonight. I actually really just quickly want to recognize our Executive Assistant, Nancy Marrow. As of today, we have taken over 390 comments on the trail. And I've been here for, I think, about 23 years, and I don't recall ever getting that many comments on a parks issue. So thank you, Nancy. Yeah. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about the proposed Lithia Park East Hillside mountain bike trails. And up in front of you is the map of the proposed trails. There is an uphill and a downhill trail. The exit and entrance for the uphill trail is on Pioneer Street. And those entrance and exits are approximately 100 yards away from one another. On the Glenview side is the downhill entrance and the uphill, is that right? Downhill entrance, uphill exit on the Glenview side. And those exits and entrances are approximately 100 feet away from each other. The trail details from the submitted proposal that's in your packet tonight, which is also online. It's a low-angle, adaptive, and beginner-friendly. The separate mountain bike climbing trail running in opposite direction uphill, and the downhill trail would be machine-built by a professional trail builder, smooth and flowing and built specifically to be beginner-friendly. And the uphill trail would be narrower and hand-built with a steady, enjoyable grade for uphill riders. Each trail will be about a half a mile long for just over a mile of new trail. According to the proposal, the grade is kept at under 4%, or around 4% for beginner riders throughout. According to the proposer, approximately $30,000. The project will cost approximately $30,000, and based on similar sized projects, which would be like the Wasabi Trail that was completed a few years back. In the proposal, it talks about the impact on flora and fauna, and care has been taken to avoid root systems on larger trees. Several large branches and offshoots of larger clumps of madrone, Doug fir, and oaks will need to be removed. But there is not specifically any reference to tree removal at this time. Just to recap what we've done as staff to get through this process and the process that this proposal has gone through. So the comment period's been open and on the website since June 15th, and we'll have be taking comments through September 3rd. The proposed trail is marked red for the uphill and orange for the downhill section. As of July 22nd, there is signage on both Pioneer Street and on Glenview. And there's also trail crossing signs and signs that note where the entrance and exits are. Those signs, be patient with us. Some of those signs have been getting removed, and we're trying to replace them as we can. RVMBA, who's proposing the trail, has produced drone footage and a handheld video. Those are on the city website, along with the proposal and the map. The Forest Lands Management Advisory Committee has reviewed the proposal and submitted comments for potential impacts to site ecology and sustainability. And most recently, just the other day, the Transportation Advisory Committee in a recent meeting made a motion to let the Parks Commission know the terminus of the Dormouse Trail seems concerning with regards to pedestrian and biker safety, and the Transportation Advisory Committee requests APR's consideration of an alternative trail end. I was asked to provide that information to the Commission. Just to bring you up to speed on, when we're looking at things like this, back in October of 2024, the Parks Commission adopted the Lithia Park Master Plan. And that plan was designed as a comprehensive 100-year management framework for the park's resources, facilities, and visitor experiences. The document is online. It provides 37 specific recommendations to guide future projects and priorities. And the document does include specific current and future guidance recommendations related to bicycles within Lithia Park. It talks about the general park rules, which right now, Lithia Park, parks and Lithia Park in general restricts bikes within the park areas. So if this is something that the commission wanted to move forward with, we would have to get an ordinance change and work with city council to do that. The perimeter bicycle and pedestrian loop. So within the Lithia Park Master Plan, it identifies a 3-mile loop surrounding the park, utilizing Granite Street, Glenview, Fork, and it also highlights safety concerns along narrow blind sections such as Upper Granite Street and Glenview Drive, and recommends some traffic calming, dedicated bike lanes, those sorts of things. Also, it talks about Windburn Way and road designs, which that is something that the Parks Commission is on their current work plan, and staff is bringing back more information on that this fall. And we've been working on some traffic calming procedures for bikes and crossing Windburn Way. Bicycle infrastructure and parking, it does recommend installing covered bicycle racks and alternative green transportation with climate goals. And then what it says about mountain biking. It recommends supporting mountain biking opportunities through potential land acquisition adjacent to the park rather than inside it. It recommends against bicycle trails in Lithia Park, and it notes that if mountain bike access were considered in the future, the trail should avoid the ecologically sensitive and heavily trafficked riparian corridor along Ashland Creek. So that is what the Lithia Park Master Plan says about bikes. Public input themes. So I put over 260 comments have been received from unique individuals as of July 30th. We're up to 390. I don't know if those are individual comments or not, but we have received 390. So some of the themes from the public input we've received so far. So pro the trail. This is a beginner mountain biker adaptive access trail. It's a safer route from the watershed to downtown. Fire mitigation and deterrence of illegal camping. It's an economic impact and booster to the community. It increases recreational opportunities for everyone, and it draws young families to move to Ashland. And then if you look at the cons, so people who are concerned about the trails, those themes are environmental damage and erosion, loss of tranquility, potential issues between mountain bikers and other groups and wildlife, a lack of necessity. So there's plenty, they would say there's plenty of bike trails in other places. The expense, it concerns over initial construction expenses and ongoing maintenance costs. Potential for bikers to stray from designated trails, creating unofficial trails, and then enforcement issues. Safety concerns regarding the downhill exit onto Pioneer Street. Safety concerns regarding funneling bike traffic and pedestrians down Pioneer Street through the Oregon Shakespeare Festival campus. And that is my presentation. I do want to invite Chair Josh Cott up. He's with the Trails Advisory Committee, and I wanted him to come up and talk about the Trails Advisory Committee and the process that they went through to get to the decision. Do you want to come up?
Yes, before we do that, questions or clarifying questions or comments, Commissioner Adams?
Director Dowse, can you go back to the slide about the Lithia Park Master Plan? The bottom section on mountain biking, I believe it's actually factually inaccurate that the plan recommends against bicycle trails in Lithia Park, that we changed, that the bottom bullet point replaced the second bullet point. I mean, we can see that those two bullet points are clearly in contradiction to one another, and that's because that third bullet point was added to replace the recommendation against trails in Lithia Park, because we wanted to deliberate on it separately.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And we see
I will-
why tonight with all the wonderful people
Yeah.
in the room.
I will check that out.
Commissioner Lunt?
The third bullet point was in the addendum. The second bullet point was in the main body. It was never removed, and it was not, it certainly wasn't my intention that it would be removed. So I believe that what's there is accurate, but staff, of course, can verify that.
I'll verify.
Commissioner Gardner?
Thank you, Chair. So just for the record, Lithia Park Master Plan was adopted when?
October 2024.
Okay, so basically 2 years ago. It isn't an ancient document. It's actually a fairly new, actually a lot of years in the making, but relatively new document that is supposed to be our guiding document for Lithia Park for the next 100 years. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, continue, please.
Hi, thanks. Hi, thanks. I'm Josh Cott. I'm the chair of the Trails Advisory Committee, which is the other TAC. This proposal came to our group last fall, and we assessed it using our criteria and essentially felt that it filled, we're assessing trails more on their merits as trails, sort of separate from the global outlook on something like Lithia Park. So this trail seemed well designed. It met a demonstrated need that is not currently present in our trail system. It didn't seem to have any obvious immediate negative effects, although there was dissent in part of the committee in terms of specifically the interaction between pedestrians and bikers on the Pioneer Street extension. It seemed to try to minimize issues like erosion and impact on wildlife. There's other trails in the watershed that have been built using very similar techniques, and many members of the committee are familiar with those trails. I'm not a mountain biker, but I spend a lot of time on foot on the trails, and I've spent a lot of time crossing Jabberwocky and BTI and the other bike trails. And for instance, from my personal perspective, the interactions between pedestrians and mountain bikers is essentially zero. I've spent hundreds of hours up there and can count on one hand the number of times I've even seen a mountain bike crossing a trail that I'm on. So I recognize other people have different opinions about this, but the committee, taking all of our collective personal experience into account and the fact that this trail is filling a very specific void in our current trail system, felt that it was beneficial, recognizing that there was going to be a lot of people who felt differently about it. And so we voted to move it through the system, knowing that this meeting and other public inputs, other public forums were going to happen, and recognizing that we were not saying this trail should be built, but that we felt that from a trails perspective and in terms of adding to our current trail system, we would recommend it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Cott? Thank you very much. Oh, Commissioner Adams?
Slow on the draw. Dr. Cott, can you share with us how the vote broke down in the Trails Subcommittee or the Trails Advisory Committee?
You're pushing my memory, but I think it was 6-1 in terms of moving it forwards.
I think it's always a little bit silly in a public forum to ask a question that you know the answer to, but we had one absent voting member that night, so I believe it was 5-1.
Okay, 5-1 it is. Thank you again. And I know you're done then, Interim Director? Okay, so for those who want to speak, I'll be calling you up 5 at a time, and if you'd line up along the wall in the order I call you, over there where the microphone is. Interim Director Dials will be the timekeeper, and you're all going to have 2 minutes each. And please wrap up whatever thought you're on or whatever sentence you're in when you hear the little gong.
I'm going to go with me. You have 10 seconds left. I'm going to do that. And you have 10. I'm going to do that. Okay?
Thank you.
10-second warning.
Thank you very much. Okay, the first 5, John Enders. Oh, and when you come up, please re-identify yourself at the microphone, and so for the record, and the town in which you reside. It's not necessary to give us an address, just the town. So Mr. Enders will go first in a moment. First, I'm going to call all 5 people. You see where Mr. Enders is, and you can get behind him along the wall. Jeff Andrews, Sylvia Iglesias, Glad Goslin, can't count and talk at the same time. That's 3, that's 4 actually, and Alan Hirsch.
Say when.
Go ahead.
Commissioners, Rick, Mike, hello, good to see you all. My name is John Enders. I live in Talent, although my family has lived in Ashland for 4 generations. My great-grandfather was the first president of the park board in 1908. My father was born in Ashland, and in fact, I think he might have been conceived in Lithia Park. So this is a very important issue to my family. What in the world are you doing? This is a crazy thing to be happening. I can't even believe that it's gotten this far, and it should not have. I'm a mountain biker too. I have 2 mountain bikes. I don't ride them very often, not as often as I used to, but I am sympathetic to those who ride bikes. And I think most of the people who are proposing these trails, are good people. They're just misguided, and they should have chosen a different place. The charter amendment, which reads, all city-owned lands bordering Ashland Creek are hereby reserved and forever dedicated to the people of the city for park purposes and shall never be sold, leased, encumbered, or used for any purpose inconsistent therewith. This is an inconsistent use of Lithia Park. The city ordinance prescribes it. Your own park master plan suggests not doing this. This should be 86 right away. People who want to use land for their personal interests or profit should consider that the real ethic is leave no trace. Don't build a trail that's going to do damage. And please read Pepper Trail's statement, which is critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Andrews?
Good evening. My name is Jeff Andrews. I am a resident of Ashland, and I am strongly against the proposed mountain bike trail in Lithia Park. It will destroy the peace and tranquility of the park. These trails also intersect established hiking trails at 8 different locations, thus creating the high possibility of accidents occurring. Furthermore, building these trails will destroy the native and cultured plants within the park and will adversely affect the wildlife. As I've seen in other mountain bike trails, users typically expand the trails with ramps around turns, creating erosion problems. There are also no guarantees that bikers, particularly children, will stay on the designated trails. Supervising adults will not be able to monitor the bikers' movement through these trails. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Sylvia Iglesias.
My name is Sylvia Iglesias, and I live in Ashland. I'll be brief because I completely agree with the prior 2 speakers. It's been 110 years since the park was officially opened. During that time, the park has evolved and expanded, but it has remained true to the vision of John McLaren that it represents enhanced nature. What is being proposed is a fundamental change to this iconic landmark that will forever change it. And it is not consistent with McLaren's vision. I am 78 years old, and if those trails go forward, I will not be able to walk Lithia Park like I do now. I would be too afraid for my safety. I would be concerned for the rest of the million visitors a year whose safety might be compromised. I also am very concerned about the wildlife. We don't even walk our dogs in the park so that we don't disturb the wildlife. Like the first speaker said, what are we thinking?
Thank you. Now, Gilad Goslin?
Gilad Gozlan, and I'm a resident of Ashland. I'm going to speak for the trails, actually. I'm going to speak as a business owner. And I want to say that I'm hearing everyone here. I think worries about safety is something that I'm going to have the professionals deal with. I'm sure there's smart people here, much smarter than me. They can figure out how to make sure that we don't have any issues between hikers and bikers. I'm going to let that happen. As a business owner downtown, I serve a lot of cyclists. I own a bike shop, and I send probably hundreds of people, if not thousands of people a year above the watershed. I get questions all the time. Where do you take kids? Where do you take families? And the answer is we don't have anything in Ashland to serve that at all. So separate of my own family that I cannot serve here in Ashland. So that's one thing that I want to kind of remind everyone. We don't have anything like this. The second piece that I want to bring in, potentially to think about making this trail as a test run. I mean, a trail that's not being used goes back to nature. So potentially, if we can try it for a year or two, and at the end of this, we can have another review. If it doesn't work, close the trail. Just an option. That's all I have to say. Good luck.
Thank you. Mr. Hirsch?
Thank you. Alan Hirsch. I live in Ashland. I'm here today to talk about sun, heat, asphalt roads, stickers, cattails, and people walking dogs. I'm here representing my dog. There are many dog owners in Ashland. Sun, heat, asphalt roads hurt dogs' paws. This is a perfect day to talk about this. We need dirt trails so they don't get hot for the dog's feet. We need wide trails so there are no stickers and cattails that can kill a dog. We need shade. We need a level trail to accommodate elderly dog walkers, other disabled seniors, and parents with baby strollers, which I see all the time on this trail we're talking about. We also use it for a city-owned vehicle for disabled that helps them. I've seen the vehicle on this part of the trail helping a person to look down on Lithia Park wonderfully because they can't walk. I am kind of surprised that the guiding document, at least the part we were shown, doesn't have in it any consideration of a view or closeness to Lithia Park for pedestrians. It says for cyclists. So we need a reasonably quick, accessible trail to do a half-hour to an hour walk for our dogs on the dirt trail so we can get back to our home for the rest of the day. All of this equals what I call a pioneer trail. There are very few dirt trails in town. There's Strawberry, there's on Pinecrest a little bit, parts of the TID off Park and Morton, but they're too narrow for older citizens often. This trail right in the middle of Pioneer with coming down is going to stop pedestrians. Thank you. We need a bike trail somewhere for younger citizens, but this is not the right place for this trail. Thank you.
Thank you. Next five, Nancy Boyer, Michael Murray, Alan Peterson, Francis Dunham, and Kurt Evans.
Hi, is this okay? Can you hear me okay? Well, I'm going to just stop on some of the notes I prepared because a lot of people have covered it. I just want to say that Lithia Park is a special park. It's a gem. Just a couple feet across from our plaza where we can go and become one with the beauty of the nature. It's nature's beauty that is provided for us. And as recently as 2014, Lithia Park was designated as one of the 10 great public spaces in America. 2014, a couple blocks from our plaza. This is a special park, and I'm asking and calling on you in your duty as elected park officials to protect this park and do your due diligence. The Ashland Municipal Code 10.68.210B clearly states no one shall ride or drive a bicycle, a motorcycle, scooter, motor vehicle, truck, wagon, or horse, or any vehicle or animal in the park except in the regular drives designated therefor. Please drop this proposal. This is your legacy. Ashland residents generously support our parks through taxes and fees. I've never heard a thank you for the many trails, only requests for more. We're still working on one park that's taken many years, and I'm hoping we can complete that, get it up and running before more proposals are taken. And if there's a proposal, I make a proposal for another splash pad for the kids in Ashland. I have to say that I'm discouraged that there was no citizen tour. There's a second drone out that's faster than the first drone. A new map has been placed on the sandwich board, and I don't know where the trails are. I don't know if anybody knows where the trails are.
Thank you.
And I did say Nancy Boyer, Ashland.
Mr. Murray.
Hi, Michael Murray, Ashland. I'm a past treasurer of the Ashland Park Foundation, so I worked when they did the Japanese garden and we raised some money for the Perosi, and I walk in the park almost every day. The majority of walkers in that park are probably older people because it's a cool place to walk and it's nice. Over 70% of the population in Ashland is over 55. And so when I look at the people that are bringing this forward, it looks like a special interest. Even the business owner is young. I ride bikes. I ride in the Greenway, ride other places. A steep slope, kids could get hurt. The slopes are not stable. Is this something we can do a ballot or something else on this before you rush as a special interest and change the park? Did I have 2 minutes already? Oh, okay, I heard a ding. Yeah, so, and you're taking money from trails to do the bike stuff too. So that's part of the money that's supposed to be used for trails. So I just think it's going to cause conflict. Having watched this happen in Marin, it got antagonistic between walkers and bikers. And I think we need both in town, but we just don't need them to interact with each other. So I think the hillside's unstable. I think you're going to take a mini excavator in there. You're going to destroy the plants. Some kids going off that hill, it's pretty steep. I wouldn't want my kid riding on that hill. So I think it's a really, I'm just surprised it's even come forward. When I look up the makeup of APRC, it's changed since last time I've worked with you guys. So I understand where you're coming from. You're a special interest. You want your bike stuff, but over 70% of the population is over 55, and they're not beginner riders. And I think the brand damage to Ashland of hikers interacting with bikers and not being happy will be more damage than what you'll get for an extra kid buying a donut or something because he's downtown, the family moved there. I mean, the logic is disingenuous. So I'm adamantly against this.
Thank you. Francis Dunham.
Alan Peterson, Ashland. I have sent in my detailed objections to this proposal.
Oops, I'm wrong.
And the commission has those. And my friends here are going to speak to many of those details. So my point here tonight is simple. None of the, there are no articles presented in favor of this proposal that will override the central issue of tonight, and that is the preservation of the park. The commission needs to stick by its 100-year-old a master plan which excludes bike, and let's have another 100 years of the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Francis Dunham.
Yes. Francis Dunham. I live in Ashland. This trail proposal is just a terrible idea. I can understand why many people wish it weren't and wish that the objections would dissolve, but two of them particularly worry me. One is the impact that this may have as the bikes come down on Pioneer and through the Oregon Shakespeare Festival campus. The Green Show, many people are out milling around. This could be extremely dangerous. But an even more overriding concern for my part is the erosion of the hillside. These are extremely erodible, unstable soils. I can't tell you how many hours on this particular hillside, and you can see it eroding even with human foot traffic. What happens when there is heavy rain? We're really risking floods, landslides, and the kind of disaster that occurred in 1997. Has anyone here watched the video, New Year's Underwater? It's on YouTube. It's very dramatic. I didn't live here in 1997, but if you watch this short documentary, you'll see what can happen. And this was, of course, without trails being constructed on the hillside. There were soils, trees, shrubs, all kinds of sediments that flowed down into the creek, piled up behind Windburn Bridge, and ultimately flooded the downtown. Thank you for considering my comments.
Thank you. Mr. Evans?
Hello, my name is Kurt Evans. I live in Ashland. I'm just going to read the letter that I sent to make it simple. I'd like to advocate for building the mountain bike trails in Lithia Park. I support it 100%. I know the location. It gets very little foot traffic, and the distance of the proposed trails is fairly short. They're a half-mile each. I've been mountain biking in Ashland since 1991, and that also includes promoting races such as Revenge of the Siskiyous and the Spring Thaw. I'm proud to say I've never ridden my mountain bike in Lithia Park out of respect. Besides being a longtime mountain biker, I've also been a trail runner, hiker, dirt bike rider, and an avid birder. I think I possess a diverse background and varied perspective, and I'm familiar with all the trails in the Ashland area. I'm in full support of the current proposal and the trails through the park for mountain biking, and confident it will not cause conflicts or damage. I'm pretty sure it will not cause a flood, I'd like to add. And there are already trails in that area, and there's quite a bit of poison oak, so I'd hate to see all that poison oak damaged. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Pat Utoff, Dave Richards, Ember Richards, Sandra Scasp, I think, or we'll get that right when we hear from the person, and Andy Evans, if I haven't already said that.
Jim, what was the last name you called?
Andy Evans.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Pat Utoff. Lived here since '85. I've run the trails on the East Hillside for 25 years. Besides liking to run, I love to mountain bike, like many of those involved in this issue. However, I'm commenting tonight to add my voice to those in favor of keeping the woods between Ashland Creek and Glenview as a pedestrian-only area for the following reasons primarily. Number one, the primary reason being that the East Hillside oak woodland is a highly valued and highly utilized resource for our community as it is. It is a highly valued resource in large part because it is a pedestrian-only wild area. We would lose or at least diminish that valued resource by building new trails and by riding bikes there. Before any work is done by the city on this proposal, we should gather data on usage by pedestrians. Number two, mountain bike trails on the East Hillside will negatively impact wildlife habitat and native plant communities associated with the oak woodlands there. Oak woodlands are disproportionately biodiverse ecosystems which have declined significantly and are in need of protection and restoration and shouldn't be further fragmented. Number three, a non-trivial issue would be the inevitable use by motorized bicycles should the proposed bike trails be built. While boosters for the proposed trails don't intend for motorized bikes to be allowed, it is difficult to imagine that there will be much enforcement if it is built. It is already being used by bikes, both motorized and non-motorized. There is little to no enforcement currently of the rule against motorized vehicles on park trails or on the Forest Service trails. Number four, it is unnecessary. Personally, after riding Jabberwocky or BTI, I love riding down Granite Street and then Windburn Way through beautiful Lithia Park. It's one of my favorite parts of the ride. It's not clear either how exiting onto Pioneer is much safer because Pioneer has a higher speed limit and it is busy near the theaters.
Thank you. Mr. Richards.
Dave Richards, resident of Ashland. I'll be one of the old guys here that's over 65 that is pro mountain biking, pro trails, and really want to see this trail built. I'll speak up for all the kids that aren't here in the audience and even kids that aren't even born yet that'll love this trail in the future. I support the proposed beginner bike trail because at its heart, this is a safety project. Every day, cyclists are forced onto the dangerous section of Windburn Way. Cars back out into traffic. I've almost had accidents there many times, and at least I'm wise enough to slow down and be aware of the cars. Kids aren't. They need a safe place to ride. This trail also gives back to the community in other important ways. Chris Chamber of the Ashland Fire Department has pointed out that it would be an excellent fire break, and it's actually 2 fire breaks in that area. You know, with what's going on in this valley with fires, I can't stress the importance of that enough. Improving emergency access while helping protect the city from dangerous fire behavior should be a paramount deal that everybody here could get behind, not just people that are pro mountain bike. Just as importantly, trails being designed to accommodate adaptive cyclists that use their hand crank bicycles. There's nowhere in Ashland that those folks can come and experience something as beautiful as Lithia Park. And that upper section of Lithia is very unused. I ride Glenview all the time, and there's never anybody walking those trails. And I can't imagine where people are so afraid that there's going to be so much conflict in that area. I know there are sincere concerns about bicycles in the park. Those concerns deserve respect, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Richards.
Hello, my name is Ember Richards. I'm 12 years old and I live in Ashland. And I am fully 100% in, I would totally ride this trail and I would love it. Also, a lot of my friends who ride mountain bikes, we don't have a way to get to any trails up in the watershed, and there's not really beginner bike trails there either. So I think it would be really helpful to have something that's close by and also easy. So yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm going to hear how to pronounce your last name.
My name is Sandra Skase. I'm from Talent. I have to say this. There are lots of people using those trails. The people who are saying nobody uses them are not going at the right time. And also the people who are saying there's no place for kids to ride. What about Riverwalk Park? What about the Dirt Jump Park? What about the $3 to $5 million proposed and approved East Main pump track? It's not what I came here to say, however. In a recent article in the Daily Courier, the Trails Director of the RVMBA expressed surprise at the level of opposition to this plan. Read the room. This divisive plan is a lose-lose proposition for cycling in Ashland. Trails in the watershed are out of sight, out of mind. This plan brings them front and center. Now, as they contemplate the prospect of sanctioning bikes in the park, more persons are becoming alarmed to learn in detail previously unknown facts about the effects of today's mountain biking practices on other users and sensitive terrain. While many remain unaware or only vaguely informed, if these trails are built, locals will be confronted with the impact of mountain biking every time they visit the park. It will be literally in the face of park goers permanently, and these future park goers will not forget nor forgive what has been taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Evans.
Hey, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Andy Evans, and I'm an Ashland resident. I've grown up in the Valley. I love this town and everything that it's given to me. Mountain biking isn't just a hobby for me. It's how I connect with nature, build lifelong friendships, and give back by teaching the next generation what this sport has to offer. One of the most rewarding things I've done is to teach for Ashland Devo. I get to teach young riders not only how to ride a bike, but how to respect the outdoors, support one another, develop resilience, and grow in confidence. Watching those kids become mentors and loving of nature is one of the greatest rewards I've experienced. The challenge we currently face is that while Ashland has an incredible trail system, we don't have an easy place for someone to begin once they are ready to hit the trails. If you're an experienced rider, Ashland is world class. But if you're a child, a parent, someone trying mountain biking for the first time, or an adaptive rider, there isn't a welcoming entry point. That's the gap this proposal fills. What I appreciate most about this project isn't simply that it creates another bike trail, it creates a safer connection between our trail system and our community. Today, riders often have to navigate busy roads, blind corners, and vehicle traffic just to reach downtown. This proposal provides a safer alternative while reducing conflicts with pedestrians by giving cyclists a trail designed specifically for bikes. The benefit extends well beyond mountain biking. Better trail access means fewer short car trips, less traffic, more people supporting local businesses, and a sanctioned trail that helps discourage unauthorized trail building while bringing more positive activity to an area that has struggled with illegal camping and fire concerns. Ashland has always valued outdoor recreation, stewardship, and community. This project reflects those values. It's inclusive, thoughtfully designed, and backed by volunteers who are ready to build it and care for it. I hope you see this is not simply a trail project, but it's an investment in safety, accessibility, community, and the next generation for outdoor enthusiasts. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. The next 5 people are Fernanda Mejia, thank you. Jason Eaton, Gail Patton, Ian Cropper, and Jeff Mangan.
Good evening, commissioners and fellow humans in the room. My name is Fernanda, and sorry I made the correction. Fernanda is for women, Fernando is for male. I'm an Ashland resident, and I've been here for the past 16 years. You can tell by my accent that I wasn't born here. But I'm here to support the trail because it's about creating opportunities for everyone. It gives kids and families, adults, a welcoming place to experience the outdoors and learn new skills and become lifelong stewards of forests and trails. And like my husband, Andy, I also coach with Devo. We coach the next generation of riders to gain confidence, resilience, and a love for nature through mountain biking and respect it. And one thing that I've learned in Ashland, like you guys have heard, is that there's a gap in the trail system, and this trail will fill that gap. And I just want to say, personally, mountain biking has pretty much shaped the person who I am, and it has given me so much. It gave me the opportunity to meet my husband, to meet incredible people, and make connections, and pretty much prevented me from doing stupid things when I was a teenager. And I want to give this opportunity to the next generation, that Ashland really needs younger people, a lot of them, and projects like this will hopefully make Ashland a more attractive place to move into. So please, say yes.
Thank you. Mr. Eaton.
Hello, my name is Jason Eaton. I'm the board member for Rogue Valley Mountain Bike Association. Our president, Ryan Hawk, is out of town, so I'm going to read our organization's statement. Our organization has extensive experience designing and maintaining sustainable trails, and we use established best practices, carefully considering slope, drainage, and erosion prevention. Our VMBA partners with local land managers, and last year alone, we mobilized more than 5,000 hours of volunteer service to build and maintain trails throughout the valley. Continuously expanding opportunities for people of all ages and abilities is central to what makes this community such a great place to visit, live, and raise a family. We appreciate the thoughtful attention this proposal gives to shared trail safety. Trail crossings for this proposal have been carefully considered by the Trails Committee and intentionally placed in slower riding areas with good visibility. Perhaps most importantly, Dormouse would expand access to outdoor recreation for children, beginners, families, and adaptive riders who currently have very limited opportunities within the trail system and the watershed as a whole. Dormouse Trail represents an opportunity to make Ashland's trail system more inclusive, more connected, and more accessible, while reflecting the city's long tradition of responsible outdoor recreation. We respectfully ask the Commission to support this proposal. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Ms. Patton.
My name is Gail Patton. I've been a resident of Ashland for over 40 years. I have biked and hiked in all the trails around Ashland. And I am saying that if we need a trail for more inexperienced people, for people with disabilities, build it someplace else. The park is not the place. The park is not the place. It is a jewel. I won't go into the reasons that other people have said. I totally agree with them. I know I walk my dogs past what I guess they call the dirt jumps now, or by the dog park, and they're working on it, and apparently that's for beginners. And that would be a great place. I know it's not a half mile long, but if that's what they need for that, great. If we need something for, for less skilled people, find a place for it. But the park is not the place. And also, I just, as other people have talked about, you've got to realize what your population here is, and you've got to do what is best for the majority of people in your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cropper?
All right. Evening, Parks. My name is Ian Cropper. I'm a resident of Ashland. I was born here in 1988. I am not a mountain biker. You can check my Strava to verify that. I've spent a lot of time on these trails, though, running and hiking. I love these trails, the trail underfoot. I care deeply about protecting the ecology and the culture and nature of the trail. I'm also a father of 2 boys, and trying to raise them in a city that seems to care less and less about whether young families thrive here. There's been a lot and will be a lot of talk about erosion and safety and historical mandate, but I want to address something that's hidden in this debate. Just me alone, I know 4 families who have moved out of Ashland, and among the reasons that they stated as to why they didn't feel that Ashland supported them or their kids. Perhaps one trail is not going to make or break that, but it is yet another data point in a continuous theme that Ashland seems indifferent to young families. Ashland likes to identify itself as a bastion of progressivism, but living here as an adult, I've come to see how incredibly conservative this place can be. Progressive in politics and conservative about change are two different things, and this town is deeply conservative about change. Of course, we want to protect the crown jewel of our city, and I get tired of hearing frustration from people upset that not everyone recreates the same way that they do. I want to end with the practical side. For everyone that's here to say that they've never really been hit by a biker in Lithia Park, I hear you. And that's scary, and we should definitely do something to sequester all these damn mountain bikers to a completely separate trail. People already ride bikes through Lithia Park. They do it now on trails built for walkers, and without vigilant enforcement, gates, or cameras denying them this trail won't stop the bikes. It just keeps them riding where they're most dangerous. A dedicated trail is the safer option, not the riskier one. I end by asking you to approve the trail. We need to keep us hikers safe, and Ashland needs a place to be able to grow and adapt and thrive. John McLaren did not design a museum. He designed a space for people to enjoy.
Thank you. Mr. Mangan.
Hi, Jeff Mangan. I served on the Ashland Parks Foundation for 11 years up until a few months ago. For the last 18 years, I've lived right up above Lithia Park, so it's quite dear to me, like it is many people. And I probably hiked those trails, I've calculated it, 3,000 times since I've lived here. I really don't know what people are talking about when they say those trails are not used by hikers. They are used by hikers. No, there's not a huge number rolling by every minute. If you want to figure out what it is, we should get counters up there. But there are a lot of people that hike those trails and use those trails. And a lot of them are older. I would say, there's a lot of people that are in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s. And they go there and they relied on this park for the beauty, the tranquility, and the safety of just being in nature and enjoying that. It's not going to be the same if you allow these biking trails in. It just won't. You've got 8 crossings, but in addition to that, this is not a huge area. You're going to see, all of the hikers are going to be seeing these bikes flashing around wherever they are, pretty much. I mean, these are all running parallel to each other. It's just not a big space. Now, I think that this beginner's trail for bikers is a great idea. I really do. I'm very for anything that's good for the tourism and for the people of the town. But it's just the wrong location. And I really question if the bikers have really fully exhausted all of the other possibilities up in the watershed. Because I'm up there and I see places and I look and I say, gosh, these look like the inclines would be fine. So, great idea, absolutely the wrong place for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Sue DeMarinis, how's that? Did I get close? Joe Keto, Barb Settles, and Jay Bowen. Oop, and Clifford Bosey.
Ready? Hi, my name is Sue DeMarinis, and I've lived in Ashland over 42 years, and I've hiked almost every trail there is and biked on the roads. And I think this is a really bad idea for the location, not for the idea of providing something for inexperienced riders. If you have a copy of my map that I passed around when I first got here, I gave it to you guys to see. There's an alternate trail that I have walked and figured out, except for the part that's on the Jabberwocky, that you can get to by car, or if you paint a bike lane going up Granite Street, which we desperately need. I mean, a painted line is a hell of a lot cheaper than excavating and eroding a hill. So if you could paint a bike lane up Granite Street all the way to the reservoir, there are 2 parking areas up there that you can either drive there or set up your bike. But if they take the water treatment plant road, which now has a gate in front of it, right where the new bridge was built across the creek, because the water treatment plant, I believe, is going to be moved across the creek. That's why they built the bridge. So if that gate can be moved about a half a mile up that road, there is nothing in between where the gate is now and another half a mile up. And at that point, a half a mile up, there's an old trail called the Waterline Trail that's still there. It's got a couple of trees knocked down, which SMC could help you clear out. If you go up the water treatment plant road, it's a nice gentle grade, nice and wide. People could do it handicapped. They could do it with little kids. Come up the Waterline Trail, which is also a gentle grade. The only part that would need to be built is between the connection from Waterline, where it crosses Snark, to Jabberwocky, where it comes down, and it's a very gentle slope down to Jabberwocky, and use the rest of the mountain bike trail. It would be 1.5 miles, and it would be accessible for what you need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Quito.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Joe Ketto, a 14-year resident of Ashland. I'm a cycling coach. I coach 11-year-olds through high schoolers on the trails in Ashland. And it's been my pleasure to see some of those kids grow into some of the best cyclists in the state and in the nation. Sorry to embarrass them. Many of them are here tonight, including state champion Grant Heater. And it would be my pleasure to teach these kids how to respectfully interact with pedestrians at the crossings that are on this trail. I believe it's very important for us to raise the younger generation to respect and love nature so that places like Lithia Park can grow in number and not dwindle in the future. And I'm in support of this trail. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Settles?
Is it Jay Bowen next? I don't know. Is that right? Oh.
No, it's Barb Settles.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Thank you.
Get that straightened out. I'm Barb Settles. I live in Ashland. I've lived here for 11 years. And my family is a mountain biking family. And I'm very concerned about Ashland Together. Also, I'm a volunteer police patrol person. And today I spent 3 hours going through the park. And when I do this, I don't do very much policing. I do a lot of listening because people are stopping me and talking to me and telling me things that they want to see changed. And like today, I found several comments about these terrible, snarly, aggressive, mean people that want to build this trail. And I thought, wow, these snarly, mean, aggressive people are our friends, and they're our neighbors. They're these people that love Ashland, and they love their kids, and they want to build a trail to help the kids learn how to mountain bike safely. It's just that they have a different idea, and they want to build it in a place that conflicts with where these people walking in Lithia Park want to hold sacred. The thing we have to think about is Ashland Together, and all of the people who are concerned about Ashland, not only the park, but the children, can get together and figure out another place for these children to learn how to ride bikes safely and wonderfully. And I've noticed that the Devo organization has taught a lot of children, little girls, little boys, to really love mountain biking and do a very good job of it, and they have not had to be in Lithia Park. They found a different place. And if we are Ashland Together, we can all work together. We can raise money, help them raise money, help parents, and find another place where this can continue to happen. And another thing that I learned today, 2 more ideas that I learned from listening to people, is how that one stretch of Pioneer Road is so important in the winter time because it's the only warm place. It's a very nice, warm, sunny place for people to walk in the afternoon. And another thing is that
we need to wrap up.
Oh, another thing is that if, one more thing. Once a little bike trail starts, many bike trails will start. it's just kind of a sacred idea. If there are no bike trails, there will be no bike trails. Thank you very much for listening to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Bowen.
Hi, my name is Jay Bowen. I'm the owner of the Columbia Hotel in downtown Ashland, and we focus very much on outdoors, recreation, mountain biking, PCT hikers. I also served on the board for Epic Ashland that introduced the free concerts in the park for our community and brought a lot of our young families out and about enjoying the park. I also serve as the head of the advisory committee for Travel Ashland, where in the last 3 years we have been focusing aggressively to change the direction of visitors in Ashland, not focusing just on OSF, but on the outdoor community, people who love trails and mountain biking, and we are seeing a lot of that at the Columbia Hotel. And then also, the most important job that I have is I'm also a mom of 2 boys who absolutely love mountain biking and are going out on these really scary, gnarly trails up in the mountains. They're 11 and 13. So to be able to have this really safe, nice, easy trail downtown that they can ride to and enjoy, I think will not only add value for our kids, but those visitors that are coming to Ashland and spending a lot of money here and enjoying the outdoors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Clifford Josie. I live in Medford, Oregon, but I'm a second-generation Oregonian, and I've lived here my whole life of 52 years. I am absolutely for this trail. I've been a trail advocate for most of my riding career, which I've ridden Ashland trails specifically for over 30 years. And I don't really see a lot of problems with this, to be perfectly honest. I try and think of the future. And I have 2 grown boys right now that when I did try and get them out into the watershed to ride, they had a lot of problems with it. You know, they're steep, not very many green trails up there unless you drive up White Rabbit, which is a lot of driving on the Forest Service roads up there, you know, a lot more traffic, vehicles, etc. It's not the best idea. This trail, in my opinion, with the topography of Ashland, which I think a lot of people are kind of ignoring, everything kind of funnels into Lithia Park, and this grade, this hillside, if it's built properly, and I've built many well-sustained, very armored trails over the years, there's not going to be that much of an impact, to be perfectly honest, not from what I can see. And I've been around that area quite a bit, so I'm absolutely for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have another 5, David Young, Steph Seffinger, Sage Connolly, Aaron Bland, and Jim Falkenstein.
Speed dating. I'm David Young. I live in Ashland for the last 32 years. I want to thank you all for stepping up to serve as commissioners. I spent 10 years on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission. 6 of those years I was chair, and then 10 years on the Ashland Transportation Commission when we actually had commissions back then, except for you guys, and 6 of those years as a chair. I know you're not doing it for the money. At any rate, and I also want to applaud the advocates for the trails because, you know, first of all, we're neighbors. You guys have a real strong want. You're very well organized. And the thing I want to say to all of us is let's not forget that we're neighbors. And when we step out of here, we recognize each other's common humanity and however the chips fall with these guys. So I just needed to say that. I was a paramedic for 10 years before moving to Ashland. I ran 12,000 ambulance calls in Denver, Colorado, and San Francisco, California. I was a teacher. My last 15 years of employment was as a teacher in the Ashland School District. I helped teach classes for the Bicycle Transportation Alliance at Ashland Middle School and at Bellevue Elementary School for kids learning how to ride. I helped start the bike swap and volunteered there. I was on the Siskiyou Boulevard Redesign Committee, the ad hoc committee. I was on the Ashland Downtown Committee for the Transportation System Plan update. And let's see. And this is PTSD. I was on that side of the table for the Transportation Commission during the road diet, for those of you who were here then. And it was a very hot issue. So, not here. I think the trail idea is great. Not where it's located. clearly the safety is the conflicts, something's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steph Seffinger, and I'm the only no vote from the Trails Committee. The reason for that is there are many reasons. One reason being that I don't feel that the Trails Committee was representative of the community. I feel like it was a committee that was basically mountain bikers. So it didn't really look at the needs of those that are handicapped, those that are older, other parts of the population. I also am concerned about monetarily having another trail. I don't believe we've actually gotten all the money for that trail. And I believe some of the money would go from taking money away from Siskiyou Mountain Park maintenance. At least that's what the Trails Committee was told. So that's where I get that information. There's the issue of electric bikes, e-bikes. They're becoming what people buy now for mountain bikes. That's where the sales are going. Those bikes go faster, they're heavier, and you can imagine that it's very difficult now. There are a lot of e-bikes up in the watershed anyway now. Think about them coming down Pioneer. This population that walks there, this is the older population. This is a population with dogs. These are people with carriages. This is not a good population to have mountain bikes come down into. It's going to cause accidents. It's a disaster waiting to happen. I really love kids. I've been a school psychologist for most of my life. I have no problem with mountain biking. I've approved other trails and worked on the Forest Lands Commission to develop trails. So that's not my issue with this. It's a place. This is not the right place for this particular trail. Thank you very much. Thank you for the work of the Park Commission and agreed. Mountain bikers, I hope that you have a safe place for having a kids track, just not in Lithia Park.
Thank you. Mr. Connolly.
I wasn't sure if I was next or not. Just to point out, those 3 clocks are all out of sync. It's very bothersome.
Forever.
I'll use the beneficial one. I'll use the beneficial one for my time. I was born and raised here. I currently live in Ashland. My name is Sage Connolly. I was born and raised here, although not in Ashland. I live in Ashland currently and have resided on Earth, I think, most of my life. I am a mountain biker. I rode in Revenge of the Siskiyous in 1997 when I was just a wee little sprout, and I mountain bike quite a lot. But a lot of these arguments have turned me in favor or of disfavor of the trail, and I wanted to go through the 5 reasons why I now oppose the trail. The first one is safety. I think anything outdoors is unsafe, and we should not promote it. We might face legal ramifications or see our children hurt. We should keep them indoors. Land use, instead of pandering to the hundreds or thousands of mountain bikers, we should probably pander to some of those who post most on Facebook and make YouTube videos, I think. Tranquility. Do you think the founders of this park envisioned the pickleballers and the folk band concert goers having to listen to the cries of joy from young children mountain biking? I don't think so. Biking in our park. What's next? Girls on bikes in our park? Lastly, children. Let's be honest. They should stay indoors or they should move somewhere else before they get hit up by a backing car out there on Windburn Way. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bland.
Hi, my name's Aaron Bland. I'm a resident of Ashland. I moved here in 2004, and one of the things that really drew me to this area were the people and the cycling here. It's an amazing place to ride bikes, and that's what's kept me here through most of my career. And I just wanted to represent the people that are bringing up how positive this could be for young families and the children and learning to mountain bike. It is hard to find beginner trails in Ashland. You're either driving up or you're sending kids down some of the steeper trails. So just from the practical standpoint of helping kids get into mountain biking in a way that's not intimidating, And I do hear a lot of the concerns, the counterpoints to the trails that are, pretty compelling. And I think finding the right balance and working through those issues could make a lot of sense. We just came, I run a small bicycle component business here in Ashland, and we just came from a show in Bellingham, Washington, which is a great example of a town that has built, I would say, a thriving mountain bike community, and it's very well integrated with the town and how they've done that. And what you see there that is in sharp contrast to Ashland is just the amount of young people, the families, the demographic, and I think that's just a really positive thing to get kids out there in nature, enjoying the trails, learning to ride bikes, and learning to have respectful interactions with hikers and other trail users, and take care of the environment out there.
Thank you. Mr. Falkenstein.
It's gonna be great. You guys will love it. Oh, you guys will love it. Shut up, you guys will love it. No. You got my
Yes, the clock is running.
Fellow bros of the manosphere and lady bros, we totally deserve these 2 new mountain bike trails only. Mountain bikers only, guys, through the top of Lithia Park. And I'm not just saying that as a spoiled, wealthy person. I'm saying that just as a wealthy person. And yes, I do own 5 mountain bikes, but only 3 of them cost me over 10 grand each. The other 2 were only $2,000, just like poor people own. Did someone just call mountain bikers selfish? Look up and around at the crowd. I would say that if, over the last 9 years, building the mountain bike only Wasabi Trail and Marty's Trail and Pepsi Trail and Mimsy and Rickety, Lizard, Jabberwocky, the Mount A-Line and Banditos, the private Red Hawk Mountain Bike Club and the Clay Street Pump Track, and then just wanting 2 more mountain bike only trails in Lithia Park, if that's selfish, well then I don't want to be unselfish. But why else do we deserve these mountain bike only trails? Well, I have been told to say for the kids and fire migration and economics justice, economics just for us. Economics, well, okay, it's just for me to have 1/2 mile more of epic mountain bike shredding where we were previously forbidden. Boo to that. All we are asking is for hikers and runners and walkers and dog walkers and flower people and lazy out of shape people to share their area again so that we can have whatever we want. And the bonus, we have to tell all of our bros that we told the Karens and the complainers and the locals and the old timers and the grannies to suck it, which is epic mountain bike shredding is all about F yeah, crushed it, bros.
Next up, Matt Weiss. Excuse me, you're done. Matt Weiss, Deb Van Palen, Chris Utah. A different Utah. Thank you very much. Our last 3.
Hello, I'm Matt Weiss, Trails Director with RVMBA. I originally got involved in this project just as kind of technical advice. It wasn't necessarily a passion project for me, but over the course of the year of planning the trail and in trying to teach this little guy to mountain bike, it's been quite apparent that with the decomposed granite, the nature of our trails, and the angle of the trails that we have existing, that teaching him here has been next to impossible. Sometimes in the wintertime when the traction's good, that's been an easier progression, but for the most part, we take him elsewhere. So I guess my only real sentiment here is that this is who we're building this for. So I hear everybody's concerns, and we've really tried to address those. In building or laying out the trail, we adjusted the angle before every trail crossing, both legal and unsanctioned, to try to make sure that there would be a low speed approach for every aspect where there could be conflict. So in the 20 years I've been riding here, I haven't really seen any accidents or near misses with hikers and mountain bikers, and I've been up there a lot. So that's all I've really got, and got to get this guy home. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for being part of this conversation. It's great to be able to do this here in Ashland. I'm Deb Van Poelen, and I live in Ashland. I'm actually a beginning to intermediate mountain biker. I'm still working up to riding Jabberwocky. And I think that there are some beginner trails that are worthy to mention here. Wonder, Alice in Wonderland, Toothpick. Those are all beginner to intermediate trails. I've seen kids on them. I think those need to be seen as beginner trails. And I do think we need to get more creative. I would love to see more beginner trails, more rolling, easy trails to ride, but not in Lithia Park. I'm also a big advocate of biodiversity, and I know that the pine oak woodland that's there is the only one we have inside the city limits of Ashland, and we need to preserve that. I'm going to read one paragraph from Pepper Trail's letter to you all that says, "It is the height of irony that the Ashland Parks and Rec sign placed near the base of the proposed trail system includes this warning. While visiting the proposed trail, please be aware that there are rare shrubs and plants along the proposed trail area. Please take care not to disturb or trample these plants. The proposed downhill bike trail would be 3 to 4.5 feet wide and would be constructed by a, quote, mechanical trail building machine, most commonly a mini excavator, as stated in the proposal. Disturbance and trampling would be the inevitable result of this proposal. In fact, they are the essence of the plan." So yeah, I think we can get more creative. I really like the woman's mention of putting a bike lane on granite so that people aren't riding down through backup cars, and as well as the Waterline Trail. That's a great idea. I'd also mention North Mountain Park might have available land for such a thing. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chris Utoff. We found you.
Hi, my name is Chris Utoff. I'm a resident of Ashland. One thing, or a couple things I wanted to mention, is that it has been mentioned that people use it a lot, these trails, and I would guess that people hike those trails a lot more than some of the most popular trails like Jabberwocky. Let's see. And I think essentially the great value of spending time on those trails is the seclusion and the peacefulness and the quietness and the escape from everything else. It's just experiencing nature. And having any bike trails would completely disrupt that feeling. So I think you're taking the essence and value of that area for a lot of people, myself included, and sacrificing it for another group. So I think that's somewhat unfair. But also I'd like to again say that e-bikes are prevalent in the trails above Ashland. And I think amongst the young people, I see a lot of them on these electric motorcycles. I don't see why that they wouldn't be rampant, even more so in Lithia Park. And I guess that's basically it. So for those two reasons. Oh, also the safety. How this is such a benefit to safety is hard to believe, because Pioneer Street has hardly any traffic. You know, it's parallel and it's going the same place that Pioneer Street goes. But there's 15, does that mean I'm over? Yeah, 5 seconds, okay. But Pioneer Street gets hardly any traffic, and you can ride without traffic back to downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public hearing. Not a formal public hearing, but the hearing of the public. So now it's up to the commission to have a little discussion here and send the staff away with some direction for next steps. We have tentatively scheduled a vote in September. If we think we have enough information or we don't have any other ideas for gathering information. So I open the floor to my fellow commissioners. Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sure that everyone is shocked to hear that I have a couple of things to say. First, I'd like to thank everyone who showed up tonight to get involved in this conversation, whatever your opinion is. As someone who volunteers my time in our community, I'm inspired by seeing others take time to get involved. I also want to thank everyone who took the time to write in, with particular thanks to the many young people who took time to make their voices heard. Each of you received a response from me expressing my appreciation. I apologize that I did not have time nor the finger strength to write back to each of the hundreds, 390 adults who wrote in, though I did read every word of every email, including several people who wrote in multiple times and several identical emails or near identical emails sent from multiple email addresses. Many of these comments did not surprise me, and indeed, the proposal speaks to some of the excellent points raised on both sides. What did surprise me was the level of vitriol directed towards mountain bikers, and sometimes me specifically, in some of the comments and in social media, including one comment that talked about killing mountain bikers, but not literally, whatever that means. Meaning that, and several demeaning and misleading videos depicting mountain bikers as mindless imbeciles. And I'm sorry that you guys had to see that tonight. Anyone who knows me, and many who don't, know that I love mountain biking. But I'm also a husband, a father, a friend, a family physician at La Clinica, a hiker, a runner, a dog owner, and yes, I also volunteer on the Parks Commission, where more than 90% of my time is spent working on topics that I deeply care about in my community that do not involve mountain biking. People that I ride with include public school and Head Start teachers, biologists, veterinarians, engineers, builders, lawyers, nurses, doctors, and small business owners that provide dozens, if not hundreds of jobs in our community. We love to spend the money that we make doing this work at our local businesses, and not just buying chain lube or IPAs. So if anyone wants to talk about those topics, I'll be available. We also volunteer time working with youth, serving on boards, supporting community events, and collecting food for the food bank, not to mention building and maintaining all of the mountain bike trails in the Ashland watershed. Now, as I said previously, there were a number of valid concerns raised in some of the communications about the proposed trail regarding shared trails between bikes and pedestrians, trail crossings, bicycles on Pioneer, and impacts on soil, flora, and fauna. These are all addressed in the proposal, and I encourage people to read it if you haven't already. In brief, this is a low-angle, low-speed, dedicated mountain bike trail, separated from pedestrian trails and carefully thought out, with carefully thought out high-visibility trail crossings to slow down bicycles and keep everyone safe through what is an underused area of the park, far from the heavily used riparian corridor. Regarding erosion, in the words of the professional geologist on the Trails Advisory Committee, it is not an erosion-prone slope, but if it were, a trail like this would help to stabilize it. Regarding flora and fauna, the expert Forest Lands Commission, which holds no bias towards mountain biking, notes no concerns other than avoiding a couple of individual plants, which is easily done. Again, all of these items and many others are addressed in depth, including references in the proposal, which also has a map of the trail, as many people seem confused as to where the trail is located in their comments, or seem to think that cyclists, when given a safe, fun, dedicated bike trail, will instead choose to ride a trail that is not designed for bikes, where they are likely to bump into pedestrians. There were a whole category of arguments that I would classify as essentially, I enjoy that part of the park, and I think I would enjoy it less if there were also mountain bikers there, because I don't like blank about mountain bikes. You can fill in the blank. I don't like the sound of the brakes. I don't like the sound of the freewheel. I don't like the sound of mountain bikers talking to one another. To this argument, I have one response, and for me, it is a core guiding principle in the work that I do in parks, namely, that everyone living in or visiting our community has a right to utilize and enjoy our parks, and that no one has an exclusive right to do so. For example, someone enjoying our Japanese garden, in my mind, wouldn't have the right to tell people to stop playing pickleball because they don't want to hear them. Nor would someone who has a hypoallergenic dog insist that no one bring their dogs with fur into the dog park because it might impact their allergies. Nor do we allow camping in our parks. So in my mind, it is good to think about using separate trails for mountain bikes and pedestrians, to build trails using modern principles that minimize impacts to soil, flora, and fauna, but continuing to direct mountain bikers into dangerous interactions with motor vehicles, with 43 motor vehicle versus bicycle accidents in the last 10 years on Windburn Way between Nutley and the Plaza, versus no bicycle-involved accidents on Pioneer in front of OSF, or failing to provide beginner mountain bike trails to those new to the sport because some people don't want mountain bikes in their vicinity, or others have stereotyped negative images that they apply to all mountain bikers, is simply not a valid argument. Finally, in all the back and forth argument on a night like this, I think that we sometimes forget what most interactions between user groups in our watershed look like. So I'd like to share a couple of recent ones that I have had. I was on the dirt section of Pioneer riding my mountain bike, which is allowed under current rules, when I came upon a group of 3 walkers with dogs, one of whom was walking off leash, filling up most of a 30-foot wide road. I said, "Good morning, on your left." As they stepped aside, I noticed that I knew one of them, and I paused to say hi and scratch their dog behind the ears before pedaling on. Last week, I was climbing up Wonder Trail on my mountain bike. I had run it the day before, when I came upon a couple on one of the narrow sections of the trail with a steep slope. I stopped, leaned my bike into the slope so that they could pass safely, and got a nice pat on the shoulder from one of them as they passed and wished me a good ride. In a final example, I was recently approaching the crossing of BTI and Red Queen, where there's actually a jump built. Not my idea, ill-advised in my opinion. Oh, excuse me. I saw a couple hiking and slowed way down, then recognized that they were friends. They told me that they were disappointed that I had not hit the jump. And I offered to push my bike back up the hill if one of them would simply lie down at the bottom of the jump to make it interesting. We laughed, promised to catch up soon, and continued on our way. I have interactions like this almost every day in the wild areas that surround our town. There is room for us all to get along in the watershed and on the hillside between Glenview Street and Pioneer. I urge my fellow commissioners to support this proposal for the reasons that I have outlined and those raised by the many inspiring speakers who have shared their time and opinions with us tonight. Thank you to the Parks Commission and to the volunteers for our wonderful trail system. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Yeah, I'll talk.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Chair. So the issues for me
are the many unknowns that I feel exist in this proposal. And I appreciate my fellow commissioner saying that most of the concerns are addressed in the proposal, but I still personally feel that they're not all answered. You know, it's like I try to envision what the potential for erosion on the hillside is. I took a tour with park staff, not the whole trail, but some of the parts that looked potentially problematic. And I wonder, you know, are we actually thinking about building a retaining wall? Is this side hill too steep? And, you know, would it last? Would it, you know, what are the effects going to be after a year or two of activity up there? You know, how much is the proposal actually going to cost? You know, what are the engineering costs? How much are we going to have to do? And then I am concerned about the conflicts. I will admit that I've never mountain biked in the hills. I've hiked, and I can't remember ever having necessarily a negative interaction with a bike rider. But, you know, to me, those are all the unknowns, and why personally I have reservations about supporting, you know, this proposal. I'm going to be curious if, you know, staff is going to make a recommendation to the commission, because, you know, either they would support it 100% or they would have concerns about the construction and, you know, all the other things that have been discussed tonight. So I guess I just want to go on record as I'm not supporting this proposal. And, you know, I have too many unknowns, you know, for me to be able to give staff direction to move forward. So I'm not voting, I'm just kind of stating
we're not voting tonight,
position.
but we understand you can take a position. To answer one question, so I have asked staff to give us their recommendation in September. And remembering that we will be closing public comment on the 3rd, there'll be a summary of everything that's happened, hopefully unique individuals and not carbon copies. Commissioner Lott?
Thank you, Chair. Well, what we're here for tonight, we've really done, which was we invited the public to come, and the room was full, and the standing room only is pretty full, I think, out beyond where I can see. And I thank everybody for coming. But that's our reason for being here. It isn't really our, we'll be debating this, but the real debate will be next month. And I'm glad we're going to have a staff recommendation. There may be other things that I think of, and if I do, I will give them either to the chair or, well, actually, I'll give them the chair. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this has been a successful evening where we've gotten to hear from a lot of our community, and I thank you all for that.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiner, you have anything you want? No? Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Chair. Two things that I heard tonight that are influencing the way I feel about the need. And one is that there's a gap to fill in this proposal. To the majority of folks that are in support, fills that gap. So I understand that there's a gap in the level of trail for beginners that we have, and I hope we can work towards filling that gap some way, shape, or form. And the other thing that I heard that kind of plays into that was, it's a great idea, but it's the wrong location. And that, that kind of resonates with me. Like, okay, we've got the idea, we've got to find a space, but is this the best space to fill the need? So, thank you.
Commissioner Weiner.
Thanks, and thanks for the presentations. Thanks for all the comments on both sides. I'm not going to reiterate everything everybody has said and concerns they've said. What I will say about this particular proposal is the same thing I've said about other proposals. I think to a large degree the question isn't, it can't just be a yes or a no or a up or a down. We need to have discussions that evaluate the pros and cons and figure out if, then how. If there are challenges, let's problem solve those. I think that there are some concerns mentioned. I'll be honest, looking at some of the trail design areas, for example, the entryway for the uphill section up what appears to be a 10-foot embankment. I don't think that's the best spot for the entry, should this trail go forward. I think there are better entry points for it that don't require that sort of excavation in that same area. So I think the question is how. Have we solved for all the problems? Have we mitigated all the concerns? I think we can if we evaluate it, discuss it. And I hope that we do have those sorts of discussions, not just a up or down or a yes or no. I hope we do problem solving.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Chair. I want to point out, so I'd like to share, and I'll be brief because I realized I talked a lot already, where my inspiration for this proposal came from. And it was riding on Windbird Way with my son, who's now a teenager. This is probably when he was about 8 years old, so he was quite a bit bigger than Connor Weiss, who was sleeping through his dad's presentation. But we're riding down Windbird Way. We're going below the designated speed limit. And he came within inches of getting hit by a car. And if I hadn't yelled, which is my instinct, he would have been hit by a car. And it wasn't a reckless driver. It wasn't somebody speeding. It was somebody who was in a parking place behind a truck who had no intention of hitting an 8-year-old child. The data from the city of Ashland demonstrates that this isn't a perceived problem, right? Like, we spent a lot of time talking about Windbird Way through the park because people felt scared when they were walking up by the bandshell on the pickleball courts. This is a real problem. 43 people in 10 years. That's more than 4 cyclists a year that get reported accidents involving motor vehicles, right? This doesn't count all of us, and it's every single mountain biker in this room that has gotten close to getting hit on Windbird Way. It just happened to Andy the other day. I was behind him. It happens all the time, and it's a big problem. And we need to fix that, in my mind, even more than we need a beginner mountain bike trail in Ashland. This solves both problems. And so let's not just focus on one thing. Safety is a big thing.
Well, I'm going to try to synthesize a bit. Taking what Commissioner Weiner said regarding more discussion, more in-depth, I think a little wider net on what's possible is wise. But I also think we have a proposal in front of us that deserves an up or down vote. It's been out there a while. And it wouldn't be a lifetime up or down vote. It would be, or down vote. It would simply be that, well, we could send it back to TAC to think about other solutions to a beginner trail. We're putting in a pump track at East Main that is for training young people. That'll be up and running in a couple of years or less, right? Yeah. So that's one piece. It doesn't connect to the watershed. I understand the desire to connect to the watershed, and I believe one of the recommendations in the 100-year plan that the consultants we had was to try to have green or beginner trails outside the park that would solve that problem, but there's not a lot of property that's available to us at a reasonable price to do that. So we have needs and difficult challenges to overcome to meet them. So I don't, in terms of setting up for next week, I do favor an up or down vote, but it would be, it could be just a transition to a different idea. So I'm not sure, I haven't made up my mind yet, but I am very sensitive to the argument of our original stewardship charge from over 100 years ago to protect the park. On the other hand, from whatever, the people's property. We need to take care of the people's property, but we also have to adapt to changing times. And so that's a balancing act that we have taken on by becoming commissioners. So I would like to thank everybody, and I really appreciate, for the most part, the decorum requests that I made. You were wonderful. So a lot of good things happened tonight. I concur with Commissioner Lant that this was a very useful process. So I'm not sure, beyond preparing to at least be ready to vote next month, yeah.
So
So we have
the September meeting would be
business meeting.
Business meeting would be September, I believe, 9th. So
9th.
that would be when this would be brought back to the commission. Staff could bring back, some thoughts related to next steps and a potential recommendation for the commission to consider or not.
Is there a September study session? I know we rescheduled some things.
There is a September study session. I would bring back the recommendation to the regular meeting, though,
At the study session.
unless,
That would give us a week to ponder that. So I think that's the way forward. I don't want to push this out indefinitely. We need to act on it. I think we need to act on this particular proposal. We have a well-written, tightly argued, a lot of work went into it, and we need to deal with it. So we're going to set it up for a vote at the September business meeting. We have one more. Commissioner Adams.
I just had one specific request for staff, and that would be that in consultation with the city lawyer, the assistant city lawyer, a little bit around the mechanics of, I forget the numbers of the ordinance that currently bans bikes in Lithia
Yes.
Park and how this proposal interacts with that. That would be wonderful.
we can bring back
Thank you.
information on that.
Okay, so the last item on the agenda is the look-ahead review. I'll ask the director to take us through that, and interim director.
Yeah, 1 second.
Thank you all.
Sorry.
You know where to find us if you have anything else to say.
Democracy in action.
Okay, so upcoming meetings, we have a joint meeting with council next Wednesday, the 12th at 5.
Hang on just a second.
No, give a second.
We'll let them exit.
We have a joint meeting with the city council next Wednesday, the 12th at 5:30 here in council chambers. So that meeting will go from 5:30 to 7. And then the Parks Commissioners will go into their regular meeting at 7, and we'll be talking about pickleball noise mitigation and some potential action, and then the Mace Property Riverwalk Trail potential connections with the Bear Creek Greenway Foundation. Then coming up in September, we're going to be talking about the Dan O'Meara Pool and some capital improvement opportunities to upgrade the current facility. And then we'll get a Lithia Ice Rink Pavilion update and potentially talk about a trail proposal from TAC on the Mimsy Trail. At the regular meeting in September, we will bring back the proposed Lithia Park East Hillside Mountain Bike Trail.
and we will potentially be taking some action on the Lithia Park Ice Rink Pavilion.
Okay,
So
so I
that's
just
where we're
want,
at. We have a lot going on.
we have a lot of big agenda items coming up. So, a couple of things. The joint meeting, the quarterly report is routine. The parks fee for my fellow commissioners, we're in a position to argue for it. I've asked staff to try to quantify what it would cost to maintain our current service levels, so that we can be more specific. It seems to me finance ought to be able to come up with whatever their current budget projections are, what it would take up to run all of our operations, divide by the number of meters, and we'd have a fee that we could advocate for. So that's something I'm hoping we can gen up in a short period of time. I would think that finance could do that. I don't know if you've had any
We're
conversations.
trying to work
with them.
on that.
Okay.
It may not make it in the packet, but
That's
something
okay.
like that could make it.
That's okay. It's just that the general fund has this unknown in it called fire and ambulance, and we can't adjust our staffing every time they go over budget. So we need to be able to say, to do the job we believe we want to do over the next 2 years, we need X dollars, and in order for that to happen, this is the amount that we would recommend for a park fee, and it should become a regular park fee going forward with the same treatment as all the other fees. That's my position. That's what I'll be talking about. But I would like that a hard number. I don't want to just talk in vagaries. So that's what that meeting's about, basically, is funding parks in the general fund. And so we better talk to it. The other item I wanted to ask about, just refine so we're all on the same page, is the ice rink potential action. How's that shaping up? Commissioner Gardner. Just.
So I think that, if I can just answer that,
Sure.
This actually pertains more to getting it on our CIP program. We met with, we being Mark Knox from the foundation, myself, Rachel, and Deputy City Manager, and talked about kind of the process that we have a few items out there that we need to get on our CIP and get in front of the city council so they'll approve it and it'll be there. And then, we really can't take any real action on this until it's a known quantity within the capital improvement plan. So that's the way I see that.
Okay, so that's not about go, no-go yet.
I would say probably not.
Okay,
I would say getting it on our CIP would be, yes, we want to pursue
November or
this.
something, making a.
Yeah, that's the way
And
I
I
would
think
say.
that the other step would be, the next step after that would be it going through the budget process.
Right, no, I understand. I'm just saying that we have in front of us a decision to say, we're going to go for it. Is it going to be staged or not? Those decisions are coming up.
And I don't think we have enough information yet. I think we're still.
But it's not in September. And thanks for
It
clarifying
could
that.
potentially be. We don't know that for sure.
Okay, Commissioner Lund.
Thank you, Chair. I don't quite see how, if we're putting on the CIP, that means that we're supporting the project.
We are supporting it, but.
And I mean, bottom line,
What are we, I'm sorry, we're having on. I'll let you finish.
Either we support it or we don't. And if we put it on the CIP, that means we're in favor of the project. And if it meets its fundraising goals, it's a go.
Contingent
That's what
upon.
That's what we'd be saying.
Right. And it would be contingent upon fundraising, and it might turn out to be a phased project, so we wouldn't expect everything for the first opening. And that's the piece that still has to be resolved, I think.
That's one of the pieces.
Okay. So It's complicated, but.
There's a lot of hurry up and wait right now, like we
I get it.
move a little forward and then a little back, but
Okay.
we are moving forward, I mean.
I'm just, and I know this is, people are watching, I hope, and I want people to understand what we're moving toward. Okay, anybody else? For the good of the group?
Chair,
Commissioner
so
Gardner.
Regarding the park fee, can we have the numbers of what the fee generated this past year? So that we have an idea of what
It's $750,000 per year.
per year. And that's an estimate, obviously, that based on good numbers, but that based on that. Okay. So that's it.
And that's based on the $5 per household.
So the question I ask of finance is, we have sources of operating capital already in the budget, independent of the fee. How much of a fee would we need to stay whole? That's the question. Given.
Or if there's no fee, you just.
Yeah, but I don't want to.
Put up $1.5 million.
But I don't want to be in the position of forecasting what we cut. I don't want to get there again.
No, but I mean, that's basically what city council left us with.
I know, but I'm going to make the argument that to do our job, we need to be kept whole, and we don't want to keep going like this with our FTEs. And we're a valuable resource to the city.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to point out that we are kind of delving into a discussion on something that is not on our agenda. And I get it where we're only a week away from this, so it's kind of important, but we don't have our parliamentarian here, and I'm just a little concerned about this. So I would hope we could kind of truncate this as best we could, just in yeah.
Point taken. Having no further business, meeting adjourned.